Oh, you did? Oh, that's right, I forgot about that. Yep, thanks.
I'm efficient.
So we got some new mics, I see, huh?
No. They just put them on it on the board. They
I
were,
know, we used to have, I know why I said the mics, but we used to have them on a tripod.
yeah, this is much better. Because now, especially Mike doesn't talk that loud, so I get close to him. Here, here's one, because I got you here. Stand this for a moment.
What was that?
So I got a feeling Mike's not gonna make it tonight.
Well, if he didn't come and see.
Maybe. Debbie's sicker now. She had strep throat. She called me last
She wasn't feeling good Monday.
Well, that's probably when it started. I talked to her last night, and holy crap, you sound horrible. And she wasn't supposed to be here tonight, so I came in early to meet Craig, or Steve. And then he doesn't show up until almost 6 o'clock. I guess he went to go get Mike or something. What's going on there? I got a new puppy. Oh my god. This dog gets into everything.
Here. I just got mine now.
Yeah, nobody's here yet.
What do you think of that?
2 minutes to
Yeah.
that one
I
call.
do too. Coming in last minute?
Get your hands full, Holmes.
Yeah, he does.
How you doing?
My hands are free. Good to see you. Again, this week.
So how can we do our own resolutions? We just present them to you or what? And it goes on the agenda?
Yeah, I mean, the board can, put any item on their agenda, and you guys can present it at any meeting. And also like tonight, on,
Well, there's an anti-nepotism already, right? Resolution. That no town, that immediate family members can't be hired by the township by the elected officials, right?
what do you mean?
Didn't they already agree to that in the year before?
Yeah, I think that should be in the policy somewhere. There's a township policy and a road district policy, I think. There's two separate policies.
Where did we get that? I don't think Rachel will be here.
No, I don't think so.
If you wanna make a resolution, I think you're gonna have to get that on the agenda for next meeting, Steve.
There's one here.
For the,
Look at this. It's nasty.
All right.
Hello, can anybody hear me?
Does it work?
Yeah, it works.
Could you hear me?
Yeah.
Are they on?
Yeah.
They are? Oh boy, better watch what I said.
Test.
Well, this is the first.
Is this, I mean,
Yeah. If Wojcicki doesn't show up, somebody's just gonna be told. You know?
There he is.
Oh, I knew he'd show up. See, I told you.
I think it is. Must be the weather.
Here's gonna be here.
It was not nice.
I don't know, this is the first.
so when that weed ordinance went in for enforcing, things in the weed violations in the township,
of course, 7 o'clock, that's not the meeting.
is there a set, is that the first time they ever passed an ordinance?
No, there was an ordinance before, and then this board, before you.
Okay, so
got
where
rid of
are
the
the
ordinance.
ordinance?
We'll have to give it to you.
We got rid of it, then we brought it back.
This board brought it back.
That particular one, but are there, what are the other ones?
There are a few, I believe they're all online.
We don't have-
online? I
they're on-
couldn't find it.
They're on the board, so
Under what?
I'll be happy to show it to you, under supervisor, I believe, or board, I can't remember. We have to look. We can look later.
Okay.
Okay, I have time at 7 o'clock, 10 call our meeting order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, public comment. See none, and no one here. Move on. We have to go to the approval of the minutes. The first one we have is for the meeting of, the last regular township board meeting of February 14th, 2019, which is in your packet.
Can we make this all one motion?
You may.
Does anybody have any questions or comments on minutes? I have none, so.
Okay, we
Ms.
have,
Gotti, I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes as presented.
okay, we have a motion by Mr. Anderson to accept, and we have a second.
This is just for the last meeting, right?
This is for February 14th meeting, and what?
Okay.
I think we're doing them all.
Oh, you wanna do them all together?
Yeah.
Oh, if you wanna do them all.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
That's
didn't
why I
under-
asked, can I do them all at one time?
I didn't understand it. Yes, you can.
Okay, so maybe he wants, but this is the ones for our workshops too.
And then the rest are the budget workshops.
Right, yeah.
Well, I have a problem with the budget workshop minutes for March 11th.
Okay. All right.
And that would be on page 2, or new business. The two separate booths, just so that it's clear what I was talking about. These are the two separate booths at the Mchenry, at the City of Mchenry Expo. Okay? So I'm asking that it be amended to reflect that after the word booths. Just-
Okay.
Just so it,
I'm sure the township clerk will be happy to do that for you.
What? I don't think I heard that.
On the second page, under trustee Beer asked why the township had two separate booths. This is the March 11th meeting minutes.
Is this a new business?
Yes, the last paragraph under new business.
Okay.
He would like it to reflect that it was the McHenry Expo booth, is that correct, Steve?
well, however they call it, McHenry Expo or the City of McHenry Expo?
It's McHenry Expo.
So,
Yeah.
and
And
I'm not sure how you want it worded. It's not-
Had two separate booths at the McHenry Expo,
I get that.
Okay.
It says you had two separate booths
instead of one at the McHenry Expo.
instead of one.
And the campaigning was not, what it didn't approve of was that items were handed out to the public. Apparently they were purchased by the township, which means the taxpayers bought them. The items this time were that flashlight
Correct.
that had the supervisor's name on it.
So
Okay, so what it makes it seem like is that I'm somehow upset about campaigning at the booths. But,
That's how you stated it.
no, I went into what it was that I was complaining about, which was these flashlights. These gimmicks that were given out to people.
you'll have to talk to the clerk. He took it from the tape, so it's up to the clerk.
The way I heard it is you
Well,
were objecting to the
There's a tape, so you can just go back and,
campaigning.
yeah, those are. I wasn't referring to campaigning out of the context of what was being handed out at the expo.
He says he was referring to that he objected to anything being handed out that was paid for by taxpayers' money.
No, that had the names of people that were, it amounted to campaigning.
That's what I have.
Well, Dan, I went into what was actually handed out, okay, and it's not in here. So it should be in there to make some sense out of these minutes.
So I guess he'd like you to add handing out flashlights, keychain flashlights.
Keychain flashlights with the name of the supervisor on blazons on it. And then a correction of the word statistics at the bottom of that paragraph. Additionally, under old business, I think this additional documentation should be spelled out, not just given this general.
Where is that?
It's under discussion ensued, quote, the trustees asked many questions as they went through line by line. The trustees asked for additional documentation.
Okay.
Now, relative to the Township Senior Express budget, that additional documentation was a revised cost per trip calculation, a revised, or an understanding of how much the extra insurance was tacked on to the regular insurance of the township for the bus service. And documentation as to how much gasoline was actually used by the bus service. I know that this $2,500 was paid, or $25,000 was paid, or $12,500 was paid to the road district for all the gasoline used by the buses and the park district people and Mary Mahady's people.
No, Steve, that's incorrect. The Park District has a separate $12,500.
Okay, I stand corrected
Okay.
by the supervisor. So the $12,500 was Mary Mahady's amount, and then the Senior Express.
Correct, that's correct.
So the mileage would be an indication of how much gasoline was actually used. Because the $12,500 didn't seem to be anywhere near the actual cost of running 3 and sometimes 4 buses every day, every business day for a year. Okay? And I just want to make that clear.
So Dan, can you add those 3 things to the explanation of the documentation asked for?
Yeah.
Steve, do you want to wait and pull that one out, make sure you see it in the minutes and prove in the next meeting?
We could do that. We can pull this one out and bring this one back to be reapproved at the next meeting. How's that?
I think it'd be better because it's quite a bit.
I do too. Okay.
And then finally, for the discussion on proposed, in that same paragraph with the old business, Mchenry Township Road District Bridge budget, discussion ensued. At least one of the items I'd asked for was from Mr. Condon, how much it was the contrapositive of the 2,500, sorry, the 12,500 that was paid by the township for the gasoline, how much gasoline was really given to the township for as far as Mary Mahady's crew and the bus service. Since that was where the gasoline was coming from. Well, I just don't want these things get lost in the shuffle. When we ask for the documentation, it should be identified what it is. So we can say, yeah, we asked for it on that date, and here's what we were talking about. It's just kind of vague and mysterious.
I don't make the minutes, Mr. Bureau, the clerk does. He will amend them as you suggested, I guess, and so then we're, Bob, I guess you need to,
I'll have to.
rescind your first motion.
I'll have to, take that first motion back.
Okay, and then
So, so is all that, which, so we can approve all of them except that one, is that what you're saying, Steve? Or do you wanna approve them all and then just check it over the next time?
I don't have any problem with the other minutes, per se.
Okay, so we'll pull that one out, do you see it again, or do you wanna, or should I pass a motion to do all four of them?
You know what, Bob, I would suggest that we don't do that. I would
Okay.
suggest we pass the ones that we're all in agreement with
Okay,
and not pass this one and bring it back to the next meeting.
okay, I'm comfortable with that too. Okay, Steve?
Yes, fine.
Okay, so then I'll amend my motion that we pass the three, so it'd be three,
I'm sorry, there'd be 1, 2, 3 sets of minutes.
one, yeah,
A,
okay.
B, and C.
Okay,
A, B, and C.
Okay, my motion is that we pass A, B, and C of the minutes.
All right, I have a motion to pass A, B, and C of the minutes. Do we have a second to that motion? I'll be happy to second the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None being had, okay? And then, I guess we need a motion for D to be brought back to the next meeting with corrections.
Not really corrections so much as elucidations or explanations. Okay.
Sure, whatever you want to say. With further explanations. I'll make that motion. We take, seconded by Mr. Greer. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None being heard. Okay. Review the executive session minutes. We don't have any at this time. Motion for approval and receipts of the bills for the town fund.
We, the undersigned members of Mchenry Township Board of Trustees, certify that we have this 14th day of March 2019 examined and audited the amounts due with the items specified in the claims attached and hereby authorized payments of same. Excuse me. Total reimbursements to be approved, $1,338.92. Total bills to be approved, $41,454.36.
34 I have on that sheet.
Well,
Oh, no, that was corrected. You're correct.
she's got it correct on the
I'm
side.
sorry. You
36.
are correct. You are
Okay.
correct. I am mistaken.
Okay. Total bills paid prior to audit, $38,885.61. Total to be approved, $81,678.89. Total receipts, $12,195.72. So I motion to approve the receipts and pay the bills for the town fund.
Motion to accept the receipts and pay the bills to the town fund.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Wojciechowski. We have to have a roll call vote. Anderson.
Yes.
Adams, yes. Wojciechowski.
Yes.
Mr. Greer.
Yes, with the same caveat that we had the last time, that the trustees really don't know if any of these goods or services were actually gotten. All we get is these bills, and they match, but we don't know if the items were actually, it says audited, which to my, as we talked about last time,
You're auditing the bills, is my understanding. It is us as township officials, the elected officials, to make sure we're receiving these things. And if we're not, we're liable and we could be prosecuted. We're telling you we're receiving them.
right, and also tonight, I think we reached a solution with Debbie about getting these things earlier, so that there aren't so many bills that are already paid out prior to the approval of the trustees, which would be it'd all be the Friday of the week before the meeting would be the cutoff. So I leave it for the supervisor to work out with her, but I thought we reached kind of a solution. Just,
Okay, I have not talked to her, let me talk to her, I have no objection to that if it'll work out for us, so.
So with that, aye.
So you're saying aye, okay, moving on. Motion, for approval of receipts of the bills for the general road and bridge fund.
General road and bridge, total reimbursements to be approved, $326.44. Total bills to be approved, $160,000. Total bills paid prior to audit, $25,605.14. Total to be approved, $186,576.10. Total receipts, $50,857.13. I would like to make a motion to approve the receipts, pay the bills.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Wojcicki for the general road and bridge fund to, accept the receipts and pay the bills. We have a second to that motion.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Anderson. We need a roll call vote. Mr. Beard.
Aye.
Mr. Wojcicki.
Yes.
Mr. Adams. Aye. Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
All ayes, motion carries.
Moving on to the permanent hard road fund, we, the undersigned members of the Mchenry Township Board of Trustees, certified that we have this 14th day of March 2019, examine and audit the amounts due for the items specified in the claims tab and hereby authorize payment of same. Total reimbursements to be approved, 0. Total bills to be approved, 0. Total bills paid prior to the audit, $22,152.04, which is also the total to be approved. Additionally, total receipts were received of $3,289.03. So, a motion to accept.
Okay, a motion by Mr. Beard to accept the receipts and pay the bills of the permanent hard road fund. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, seconded by Mr. Wojcicki, excuse me. Roll call vote. Wojcicki.
Yes.
Adams, yes. Anderson.
Yes.
Beard.
Yes.
All yeses, motion carries. Pay the bills and accept the receipts. Okay, fund transfers. We don't have any at this time, gentlemen. Next month, we will have quite a few fund transfers. We have to even out those line items, and we will do that for the audit at the next meeting. All right. New business. Bob, you wanted this, and I'm all for this. A discussion of an appointment of a health insurance committee to meet and review health insurance options, and the health insurance policies renews on June 1st, 2019. I'm suggesting a committee of one township trustee, myself, the highway commissioner, and the assessor, because the assessor and highway commissioner have employees that are also affected by this insurance. And there will be no decisions made at this meeting. This is just a committee where a representative from the insurance brokerage, he looks at many different policies to give us his recommendation.
Would the committee come in with a recommendation?
The committee will come.
To the board?
The committee will come with a recommendation to the board.
That's what I like.
Yeah, that would be the purpose.
Yes, right. Okay.
Is that satisfactory to everyone?
Yes.
Okay?
I'm okay with it.
And then, do we have one of the trustees that would like to serve on that committee? Mr. Anderson, would you like to serve on that committee? It would only be a couple hours tops.
No, I brought it up, we'll do that.
Okay, so we're gonna,
I would,
Okay.
I'll accept that, yes.
okay, so if that's all right with everybody, we're gonna appoint Mr. Anderson to that committee. And Bob, I will get you a date. It will be sometime in April. He will be coming out, and I'll try to arrange it for you.
And I'm set, if you set up something in the morning, I can come by in the morning too, if it's, as long as I get back by 9:30 to the workshop, so if you can do it sometime in the morning, that's okay with me too.
I'll see how I can arrange it. Okay.
Or sometime early afternoon, but sometimes I'm flexible during the day, so it doesn't always have to be the morning for you.
Okay, got it. I got what you're
Or
saying.
evening, okay?
Okay,
Just so I have more time in advance, of course.
we will set that up then. Okay. All right, moving on. We have to review and set the agenda for the annual town meeting to be held on April 9th at 7 p.m. here at the Township Hall. You have a proposed agenda in front of you for the annual town meeting. You'll see under new business, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 requested agenda items brought forth by the electors.
What happens if it's not approved tonight?
It has to be approved tonight, or we have to have another meeting, because I have to post this.
Because,
I have to publish this.
I'm not, I wasn't coming without approving it tonight, okay? But with that said, I might change my mind. But I don't like to get something just at the last minute.
Okay.
It was sitting here when I got here tonight.
Well, it was mailed in your packet.
Yeah, but I only came a couple days ago. Okay, who checked,
I did.
these
Clerk
are all checked off.
The clerk checked all the signatures, and he could verify that there's enough, there's more than 15 signatures for each
They
one.
only need 15.
I don't need 15.
There's
I don't know.
17.
Huh?
Each one of them were marked. There was a couple that weren't good and marked. Those
I saw
all.
those off to the side, right, I saw that.
They're all verified through the county.
So those are verified from you, okay, I can take that. Who collected, where are these signatures collected at?
Well, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be where they're connected.
As a trustee, I want to know where they're collected
I have no idea. They were brought in
at. It looks
by,
like, huh?
they were brought in by electors, so I don't know where they were collected.
Who brought it, what? I've collected a lot of signatures, okay, this looks like this was all done inside of one of the township buildings here or someplace sitting it.
To my knowledge, that was not the case, but
Huh?
that was not the case to my knowledge.
Well, I'd like to, she's not here usually, she's not like to question Colleen, how she got all these signatures all lined up, the same pen. I've collected thousands and thousands of signatures, I've never seen anything like this.
Mr. Attorney, can you give us some guidance?
Did you see one?
I've not seen it.
Well, take a look at
Yeah,
that.
I think I put one by.
I do have comments relative to, some general comments before I give, can I give some overbrush comments? Okay.
Keep that, 'cause I got mine, sir.
First off, as far as timing wise, we are kind of bumping up a deadline. I just kind of want to reiterate that I've got a date here, March 25th is the last drop dead date for publishing and posting an agenda. So that's the last date that something needs to be done, number one. Number two,
Excuse me, Jim?
yeah,
That has to be posted 15 days
in
prior.
advance.
It has to be published 15 days.
15 days in advance, which means you have to get that to the post office, to the publication prior to that date.
Right.
That's the publication.
That's the publication date.
This isn't the annual meeting on the 1st?
No, the annual meeting is on the 9th.
The 9th of April.
Okay.
9th of April.
All right, so.
So we have to get it
So-
before the,
so if you
probably a
back
couple
that-
days before.
Yeah, so the 25th would actually be the day that it's posted and published in the paper, so you would have to get it to the paper in advance of that date. Okay. Number two, agenda items can be brought to this board by electors, as has been pointed out, but as we ran into the past, we've addressed items of what can the electors put on an agenda or request to be put on an agenda versus not put on an agenda. And as you recall, we were in court on some of those issues regarding what was and what should not be on there. And we've talked a little bit about this in the past, and I'm just gonna kind of re-hit and just kind of, for the record, make 60 ILCS 1/30-10, which is regarding notice of meeting and agenda. It says, the agenda published by the township board shall include any such requests made by voters if the request is relevant to the powers granted to the electors under the township code. So, also, then the next piece is to look at these 4 items to see if they are specific powers within the code, Article 30, as to whether or not those electors have those powers in order to put that on the agenda, to even request it. I am not so sure that B, C, and D actually qualify. I do, because when you look at C, there's a section that deal with the township board being able to set rules for yourselves, not the electors doing that for you, number one. So I don't see, basically, I don't see anything for B, C, and D. Now, I could be mistaken, and we could certainly look into that, and I don't mind kicking it over until Monday if you want to look at it some more. But as I sit here today, I don't see any sections within the code that provide for B, C, and D. There is a section which is 60 ILCS 1/30-130 for A, but not for B, C, and D. That's just my comment.
And I went through that whole list and I've gotten to that too, and that was my question too. I don't think all these items qualify.
How about this, gentlemen? Why don't we have Mr. Militello give us a firm opinion on B, C, and D if they do or do not qualify by Monday? Is that possible?
Yes, and if I can I get a copy of the documents?
Yes, which was Mr. The clerk will give you those.
Okay, because sometimes if an elector has something, they may be citing to something that they're referencing it, so I just want to make sure I'm not missing something.
Keep that one, and I got Mike, so if Mike wants it, I'll get
But
it.
there's,
So you keep that, Mike.
but he needs them all. That's-
Yeah, I need
Oh,
A, B, C. So this is
Oh, I see,
I need B, C, and D too.
Aren't they in there?
It should be
They
on-
should
Oh,
be
is
in
it?
there.
I'm
No,
sorry.
they should be all
I'm
there.
sorry.
They should be
I'm
all
sorry.
there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
I'll
there's
vote.
four there. There's
Thank
four
you.
there, yeah, right
Okay,
there.
I thought there was.
Can somebody explain to me what House Bill 438 is?
I think that's a typo. I think it should be 348.
Yes. But they put it in it.
Well, no, I don't know. Maybe that was my mistake. What does the petition say?
It says,
Well, they got 348 up here. They got House Bill 348, 348.
That was my typo.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so
So that's
that
348. It is, okay, 348 is it, okay.
I still don't know what it is.
I'll tell you what it is. You should, you probably forgot. I brought up, and we sent a letter in support of that, and that's,
Yeah, it's
Representative
just, you know,
Sweeney's
the
bill.
thing is, I don't remember the numbers, you know, I
Oh,
can't,
that was it, yeah.
I'm not putting one to another, so.
Okay. Well, do you want to explain it to them, Craig?
Yeah, 348 was the same bill that Representative McSweeney put up last year, only under a new
For
number.
Correct.
Correct.
For
For
consolidation.
consolidation.
That's all I need to know.
That's all it is.
but Stan, just so you know too, the actual statute itself is directed specifically to McHenry County and none of the other.
Right, right. I
Yeah,
understand.
just so you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that bill is gone. He has re-entered it since then.
Okay.
Right.
It's a different one now. But that was vetoed by Governor Rock.
No. Of the first one.
The first one,
Yeah.
yeah. But he has re-entered it.
Correct. He re-entered a new one. Okay.
New business B is clearly out. Okay, you won't have to spend much time on that.
I would agree with you.
Which one's that?
B, I don't think the electors have the
Oh.
power to stagger the election cycle.
But this,
I kinda wish they could.
but Greg, you know, for my end of it, these are the things that trouble me to get this the last minute with the different things you attempt to do in your life is that when these things come up, I have trouble with it, and it's kind of hard to get that and hit and put it through your mind, and then all of a sudden we're supposed to.
The problem is they had until
March 1st.
March 1st to bring this to me, so I had to wait, and then I didn't see it maybe the next day or maybe the same day. But then I had, then I got it on there as quick as I could get on
Then
there.
I appreciate
You know,
it.
I gotta wait till,
Okay, then
Actually-
I retract my statement, I'm just, but this is what gets me, and I look at this stuff, and I went and I checked out, and I said, some of this stuff, I'm saying could even be in, should even be voted on or approved by us.
so I guess my suggestion would, how would you do this, Mr. Moore? How would we, because we have to pass this somehow, so.
We can either pass it tonight, or we can
Oh.
continue, we can either continue it to Monday.
Could we continue it to Monday's workshop meeting? And then-
Absolutely, just add
Okay.
it to
That
the
was my
agenda.
suggestion.
Why don't we do it?
We got time to do that, I was uncomfortable with it.
Sure.
We certainly got time, we can put it on the agenda for
On Monday, yes, I can put on the agenda for Monday tomorrow, that
And
will work.
then, Mr. Metalli, you'll have
You
the,
can tell us what needs to be on there, or what has to be on there, what should not be on.
Yeah, as I sit here today, I see A is yes, B, C, and D, I don't know. I would say no as I sit here without saying.
do we have to make a motion for this, or table it, or what do we do?
Well, motion for a special meeting alongside with the
Well,
with the
special
budget.
meeting?
No, I guess it would be a special meeting, you're correct. It would be a special meeting, which we could have right after the budget meeting, right before the budget meeting, I guess, either way, so.
Okay, yeah, because it would be a special meeting.
Yeah, it would be.
So that's probably a motion, I suppose. huh?
Yeah, we'll need a motion, so, if you'd make a motion to have a special meeting, how about we have a special meeting right in the beginning?
Well, I would say that, okay, at 9 o'clock,
We'll have a special meeting at 9 o'clock and move the budget meeting back a little bit.
whatever, yeah.
That's what we'll do.
Okay, so I'll make a motion, that, what is the date for Monday? 18? 19? 18? Okay, so I'll make a motion, that we will have, a vote on the approval approval of,
The annual meeting agenda.
Agenda for any.
No, the approval of the, I don't know the name, what they call it. I just-
The
I just
agenda
have
for
to-
the annual
I
meeting.
just have to put in the approval of the agenda for the annual meeting. I don't go
Right,
through
right,
this stuff, right?
Right, no, you don't
It's right
have
on here, okay. And that meeting would be on, at 9 o'clock on the 18th of March,
okay. So Bob is,
2019.
yeah, Bob has made a motion to, continue this to a special meeting. I don't know if it will be continued, but to a special meeting on Monday, the 18th at 9 a.m. to determine,
Not to approve them.
to approve the, annual meeting agenda.
Correct.
Okay, roll call vote. Anderson.
What did you just, who said?
Oh, I'm sorry, we didn't second, you're correct.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Adams, yes. Mr. Wojciechowski.
Yes.
Mr. Beard.
Yes.
Okay, done. Old business, I have none. Does anybody have any at this time? Okay, none being heard, we're gonna move on. Any proposed agenda items for next monthly meeting at this time?
Steve, you were talking about maybe some type of resolution, maybe you wanna bring out here? Steve, here?
Well, there's apparently more than one ordinance that have been approved by the board recently and apparently some in the past. And those are online, right?
They are online, yes.
And then there's a policy statement for both the road district and the township. I take it that's different than the ordinances?
I'm unclear as to what policy statement you're referring to.
Well, like this, the anti-nepotism policy.
Oh, that would be a policy statement in our handbook. Yes, there is.
All right, so I'm wondering if we could elevate some of these policy statements into resolutions. So I guess I need to get a copy of the policy handbook.
Sure, we'll be happy to, we'll email that to you.
Well, you don't have to mail it.
I said email it.
Oh,
Will that work?
well, I'll be here Monday for the meeting.
Oh, sure, we'll hand you one. Now, the only thing I would caution, and I think Mr. Milton would agree with me, there's a variety of things in that handbook that are legal requirements that we would want to change out of the handbook, is that correct? Especially for grants and various things.
I think at this time, give Steve and any of the other trustees copies that they want, and if there's any, discussions, so we'll discuss it.
We'll
But
discuss it.
I wouldn't start making changes without talking about it.
Correct, okay.
And so also, since we're dealing with executive orders and so on in the national news, are there executive orders by the supervisor that aren't included in the policy statement that are issued from time to time?
I think the only, and Mr. Milton, you correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the only executive power I have, Steve, in terms of something like an executive order would be an emergency power in a case of an emergency for the township where funds might need to be dispersed immediately.
And I haven't seen anything come from your desk
No,
indicating that.
no.
You're not considering building a wall or anything?
I was thinking about building a wall around the township, no, I'm kidding. No, I don't believe I have any.
Okay, I'm just trying to come to grips with everything that's going on. Since I came in midway through. Thank you.
Okay. So
And then,
go ahead.
are you done, Steve?
Yes.
With this, I know at the budget meeting, we brought up about looking over the road district's intergovernmental agreements. Would this be a time to have discussion and see if those agreements should be approved by the board? Would that take a resolution to do that, or how would you get into something like that? Or are we stepping over?
I think you might be stepping over the line there.
You are?
Mr. Milton.
Yeah, I mean, if there's IGAs with the road district and other bodies, those are agreements between him and those bodies as the entity for the road district. So if there's something specific, I'd say, address it, but in general, they're separate.
Well, there's actually two problems. One are these intergovernmental agreements, and the other are just ordinary contracts that the township or the road district signs. Now, I was under the impression that all intergovernmental agreements had to be approved by the board, because that's what we did when this tornado alarm.
That's the township intergovernmental agreements. The highway commissioner has different powers than the supervisor. I don't know, Mr. Milton.
It depends on what the situation is. That particular IGA was a township action that was requested by the fire district we're requesting that this township contribute and participate with the fire district in that particular IGA. At that point in time, this board participated in that decision-making process. IGAs that are specific to the road district are then under the guise of the road district or the highway commissioner to then sign and execute. So if there's a specific IGA that you guys want to talk about, then I would say let's look at whatever that IGA, whether it's a township IGA or a road district IGA, and then go from there.
Well, here's my problem. That would then undercut the board's ability to do anything as far as budgeting. If the head of the road district can just sign intergovernmental agreements that lock us into things and cost us things, that would seem to be in conflict with what the board's purview is about approving budgets and liabilities of the township and so on and so forth.
The road district has the ability to enter into those contracts that are necessary and proper for the road district and for the maintenance of the roads, and then it is within the highway commissioner's guise to prepare a budget to pay for those expenses as deemed appropriate. If the board chooses not to approve the budget and appropriation ordinance, or chooses not to pass a levy in order to fund budget and appropriation ordinance, and the highway commissioner believes that the budget and appropriation ordinance as he presented and or the levy as he presented is fair and reasonable and it should be such, then there's a difference of opinion as to what that should be, and then there becomes conflict. But as the board sits here now, it's within your right to question and ask as to the proper spending of the funds for the specific items that are being requested.
Well, not just spending of funds, but swapping of materials, like the salt that's going to Greenwood Township.
That's one of the things I got the salt trucks that went to Alden Township, and the road commissioner said there's 2 trucks that went there, but I counted 4 going by the barber shop.
Yeah, IGAs and agreements made for barter, swapping of services and whatever those agreements may provide. From the last meeting that I was hearing, there may be multiple services that are provided to one township versus another, and there may be some compensation that's included. Those agreements then are within the guise of the highway commissioner to enter in between those other units of government, and if the highway commissioner would like to share those with the township, then that's what them to decide.
I have no problem showing the IGAs that we've entered into.
I think we talked about that.
We did, we mentioned it at the budget hearing, that we
Yeah.
wanted to go over this.
Well, we can save some time. It's not all the IGAs that you've ever entered into. It's only the IGAs that are in effect now.
And then, but then, what I'm hearing now though, as far as the board then, with the town, if we wanted to make a resolution that we no longer were going to have Richmond, Burton Township get involved with the GA, we could pass a resolution for that would, if we thought that we didn't want to do that, or is that out of our bounds too?
If you're asking to pass a resolution that the township is not gonna get, then things that you have control over, then you can choose not to have those relationships and enter the IGA. that resolution may not bar the highway commissioner from still entering into an IGA.
I'm talking about, but this would be the town fund, this is the general assistance
And in
fund.
terms of general assistance, I can speak to that. I have sole authority over that. You could not tell me.
As far as general assistance.
But you have sole authority to do that with, outside the township though, is that?
Yes, I do.
You do.
Yes, I do.
So, a township board that really has pretty much hands tied for making a lot of decision making here. The only thing that we really have control over right now, as I mentioned earlier, is the funding, the budget part of it. And it gets very difficult on how you run that through my mind.
But then we're hamstrung on that because they've already entered into these agreements.
It's gonna be some thought process.
What about
Work that out.
what about the contractual agreements with third parties that are not governmental entities?
If they're under $20,000, we as the officers of the township can enter into those. That's part of our duties to make sure the township runs.
So is there any limit on the extent of these contracts? In other words, could you make a 20-year contract?
I believe I could, but I don't know. You have to,
Yeah.
Mr. Melton would have to answer that.
Usually your contracts don't really exceed beyond the terms of the board's,
Term of office.
correct, from the term of office. There is provisions in there regarding mortgages and leases and allowing for extended periods of time when they're 20 years, things like that. That's for extended periods of time. Most of the time, they're usually 1 year, 2 years, maybe 3 years, and then maybe a provision in there with the ability, the township has the ability to renew if it so chooses at the same rates or whatever they may be. But most of your contracts, from what I understand, wherever they may be, it usually gives you some type of out after a year, should you want it.
Well, I don't think we should micromanage it. If there's money spent that we don't know about, we can question that when it comes to these
Correct.
agreements, but
Correct.
I don't think it's our purview to be micromanaging.
Right. I'm only trying to enter in contracts that are into the best interest of the township and the taxpayers.
Yeah, but there's a board here. There's 5 people to make a decision instead of 1.
That's where I think your authority, you have the authority to audit the bills and set the levy and approve the
Budget.
ordinance, the budget ordinance.
But if you've already signed the contract, so our hands are tied, well, we can't do
Mr. Mayor,
anything about it.
I didn't write the laws, so that you have to complain to your legislators.
Well, I don't think that is the law.
Okay.
Otherwise, then you don't need a board. You can just do whatever you want, because that's apparently how things have been done in this township. All right, so what I'm asking for is all of the intergovernmental agreements and all the contractual agreements that the township and the road district have entered into that are in force and effect, or that will be coming into force and effect. Not any of the ones that are expired or contracted for, that are no longer in effect. We don't need those. How many of these contracts are there out there?
Steve, there could be, I guess it depends upon what you consider a contract. You know, a contract with the phone company, with stands, office equipment. I mean, there could be virtually quite a few of those little ones.
We can exempt out the utilities, okay?
Okay. So if we,
Did you really have a contract with the?
I don't know if we really have it. Well, actually, we do, because we contract for a year at a time normally, the natural gas prices and the electrical rates, et cetera, that are done through a service that recommends to us the best place to buy those from at the cheapest rate. So there is a contract for those. An agreement.
And how many intergovernmental agreements are there for the township? The township that you.
I think the only, off the top of my head, Steve, I'm gonna have to go back and check, but I believe the only 2 would be the fish food pantry and the senior service building for rental agreements, basically.
Well, you have an agreement with Pace, right? Or not?
I have no agreement with Pace. This board has an agreement with MC Ride. that this board has passed before you came.
When does that expire?
I believe they're a year at a time.
So about when?
I don't know, I don't remember, I'd have to go through.
Now, when you say MC Ride,
MC Ride is a,
it's different than the one the township runs.
correct, that is different. MC Ride will take you anywhere in McHenry County. And it's a county-run program. In cooperation with PACE. All I can tell you is I will do my best to get those all together for you, and I will. You're gonna need to give me at least a week.
That's fine. And what about, it's both sets of contracts, right, between intergovernmental agencies and third-party companies or persons? In other words, we're looking at a budget, okay? But we have to know how much.
No, I understand what you're asking for. I believe I understand what you're asking for. I will get you everything. I don't know that I have any real IG agreements that I'm aware of in the township.
I can
Other than the fire department's the ones
Yeah,
we get.
and I think it's probably prudent too, that, if there are contracts that you do have that are in place, that are in force, and that you plan on spending money over the next fiscal year, that those monies are then budgeted from, April first through March 31st to cover those expenses, and if not, then they don't need to be budgeted because they're not there.
I understand. In other words, if there's a contract, it has to be paid.
Then you should, right.
And Stan, this is not micromanaging, it's watching where the money goes. It's always putting money in the budget, it doesn't really go someplace.
It's one thing to look at it, and we can control how much money is being spent on these agreements, but,
Not really, it's already done. If the agreement's already signed, we have no control at all.
but we can do it for the future.
Right, but we've got to get a handle on what's going on now.
And I can also share with the board too, one of the things trustee Vera brought up as far as the word auditing, and really where that's coming from, and just kind of go back, and I think that kind of dovetails to you, Stan, as far as what you're saying, as far as management part of it. 60 ILCS 1/80-10 talks about that section, and what it says is the township board, which is your board, shall meet at the township clerk's office for the purpose of examining and auditing the township. Now, and it's been, from the various readings, it's made it very clear that auditing isn't the auditing term that you think of in the terms of an annual audit. It makes it very clear. Don't construe that as that's the annual audit. You still need an annual audit. But what it is an examination of your accounts and making sure that when you have an invoice, that you then have an invoice that matches a check in order to comply with making sure that you're not paying more or less than what's being asked.
Okay.
And so will that also extend to the road district with these contracts?
I already told you I'd be glad to give you the IGAs. I'll try to have it by Monday morning. I would guess that we have approximately 10, 2 to 3 with the county right now, and the rest with local government agencies for plowing.
And what about other contracts?
I'm trying to think of any other contracts that we have, and the only one that I can think of was the salt conveyor, which that was actually approved by the trustees before I entered into the contract with them, which was done, January of last year, I believe it was, after it was approved in the budget process, or maybe February or March, I don't remember exactly, but it was after it was already approved by the trustees. And otherwise, the IGAs with the different municipalities they're very small impacts to our budget. There's nothing huge there. The only big ones are the county, which relates to non-dedicated roads or roads that have been brought into the county to be upgraded for us. Those are our big ones, which I mentioned the other day.
Well, they may not be huge in of themselves, but taken together, they might be. When you say you have approximately 100 miles of roads, but you're actually involved with following 130 miles with these other agreements. I'm not talking about the swaps. I'm talking about the new obligations that the township has obligated itself to vis-a-vis these other municipalities or state entities. So it's a third, it seems to me, it's about 30% more, okay? And we have no idea if these municipalities are being charged
A fair rate.
right. Thank you.
Okay, we will, the road commissioner and supervisor are both agreed to get you all those agreements and any contracts that we have. Okay, let's move on. Any other old business, or, what was that, on the proposed agenda items?
That's where we were at, right,
That's where we were, so I don't know how we got to where we were, but okay.
easily.
All right, let's move on. Supervisor's reports in the packet, as always. As you can see, our bus rides are starting to trend back up a little bit. That happens normally when the weather starts to get nicer. We have some snowbirds, et cetera, that leave, or also some of the elderly people don't like to go out in the wintertime due to the weather. General assistance reports in there, and the park report is in there.
I have no questions.
Okay. No questions? No. Okay. I'm gonna move on to the assessor's report, and I see she's not here. It is in your packet, I believe. So, I can't answer any questions to that report, but it is there. I would suggest if you have any questions, to give her a phone call. So then I'm going to move on to the highway commissioner's report. Mr. Highway Commissioner?
You have my written report, and I'd be glad to answer any questions that you have related to that. Or any other questions you may have.
From my end of it, I don't have any questions, but I'm just glad that you agreed to read those contracts, so we'll have plenty. It'd be nice to go over those, or when you get them.
Sure. They're all in one spot. Not a problem, they're all 2 or 3 pages, and not a big deal. Other than the counties are always,
On the what?
the counties are pretty sizable.
So there's additional pages. Yes. I think we have to give it.
I just have a quick question.
Yes,
That salt on conveyor, you said that was a contract? I thought we bought that.
oh, we did. It was a contract to construct it, to purchase and construct it.
Okay, so that's just, okay, so that's pretty much done then, right?
The last bill was submitted this month.
Okay.
We have everything, it's operating properly, and actually it works really nice. Although we haven't had to use it too much because our salt dome has been empty, we've been using, because of all the weather that we've had.
Can I ask one
Yes,
question
Mr.
about the bus monthly report?
Sure.
When you say total units, these are one-way trips?
Those are one-way trips, yes.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions for the highway commissioner at this time? Okay, none being heard, I'm gonna move on. We don't need an executive session at this time. Are there any board member comments at this time? Limited to 3 minutes. Okay. None being heard, I'm gonna move on down the agenda. Public comment, there's no one here from the public to comment.
Has that ever happened before? Nobody came?
It has happened, but not frequently. I think the weather scared people off tonight. I don't know. I just want to remind you of the dates that are down on the bottom of the thing there for our budget meetings. Bob, I skipped April 1st at this point in time, and I'll discuss with you if you could do an alternate date that week. If not, we might be able to go past it. I don't know. We could decide.
I can do an alternate date if you want to.
That week we could?
Sometime midweek.
Sure, I'll take a look at it.
Okay.
I'll email you and we'll make sure we're in agreement.
Okay. Call me.
I'll call you.
My
That's
computer
better.
is out.
That's better,
I
yeah.
don't have it.
I'll call
The
you.
company sent me.
I can do
I
that.
don't mind helping you. So give me a call and make sure.
Give me a
you're all
call.
right. Thanks.
So just remind you of all of our upcoming meeting dates. With that, Oh, yes, I'm gonna change on here this March 18th. The budget workshop will be at 9:30, and we'll have that special meeting at 9 AM.
Before I adjourn, at one time, we were supposed to have something about the lawsuits. Well, a couple of months ago, that was kind of brought into discussion. We were gonna have a meeting and nothing. Is there anything going on with the lawsuits at all?
At this time, it's still, nothing's pending, and I've received a phone call. The other attorney's looking to get a hold of me. I don't know if he's been out of town or not. My goal is, I have nothing to report at this time in executive session, so I'd rather wait till either next month or do something at a budget workshop.
But something's pending.
Yes.
Because I remember one time we thought we were gonna go, yeah, we did.
You're right,
We
and
talked
then
about it, but
it's
yeah.
all been
Nothing.
kind, it's all been kind of
And I didn't hear
held,
anything after that, yeah.
it's all been kind of held up, right?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, with that, can we have a motion for adjournment?
I'll make that motion, we adjourn this
Motion
meeting.
by, second by Stan. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? None being heard, meeting is adjourned.
Who was second on that?
That was Stan. Second.
Didn't waste no time there.
Oh, and then oh, never mind, meeting's over.
You're right.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, because it. All right. Stop for a second.
You bet.
I will.
We got one here.
Page 1 and page 3.
I'm trying to see what we got.
Stan, have a good one.
Thank you, you too.
Steve.
Yeah, take care.
Great. Take care.
You got one more down here to sign.
Steve, you got one here to sign. Yeah. There's always two.
The town,
I think they're all done. Did you bring it?
You good? We're good. Okay, Dan, take it easy. Okay, bye.
Thanks, good night. See you back in Wonder Lake someplace. Good place to be.
Oh, wait, I got some.
This is the first time since we've been here.
Isn't that nice?
No, it's kind of
You like conflict. You like people yelling at you.
That. Guess I didn't make all the pages right. Well, I'll bring it to the next one. Okay. Joe? Did it kind of a rush because I went over to try and get rates dropped.
You tried to pick them up?
Yeah, he wasn't there. Well, I guess. You saw it, right?
I took them in. No, but that's the copy, okay.
Figure out how they go.
Steve, when I redo those minutes,
I'm not, I didn't say it was, had to be corrected, it just had to be expanded, you know?
yeah, no. Well, when I do it, I'll email it to you, so see if it's up to you with
My
expectation or whatever.
Oh, that's fine.
What's this?
Reading material.
You didn't want a whole lot of changes, just some of the specifics, if there's only one.
I don't want those things lost
Well,
in the shuffle.
I got totally lost there somewhere, so I'll look at the phone. There was an extremely long workshop meeting.
Well,
And
then we should
and then-
make them 2 hours and that's it.
Well, and then on top of it, here, that was the 11th, so I worked on it on the 12th, you know, because I had to have it for this, I had to have it done by the 13th, so I could get it out to this in time, I don't know. So, we were working on that for, shit, probably 3 hours, and it's stupid.
You need a deputy.
Yeah, I want Debbie, but she says I can't do it, it's contract interest. I don't see what.
But she's sick. She came in and helped.
Yeah, Joe, I talked to her yesterday, and holy shit, you sound horrible.